The most talked about and polarizing position in the sport of football is the quarterback. The quarterback is the backbone of the team and the figurehead of the team. Everybody loves that position, and everybody also loves freshmen. In today's video, we're going to combine both of those topics, and I'm going to talk about who I think will be the best freshman quarterback in college football this year. We're going to go through some of the most highly recruited quarterbacks and the guys who are in the best positions to play right away, and basically go through and try to find out who will have the best opportunity and who will be the best freshman gunslinger in the nation. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and try to figure out who the best freshman quarterback in college football is. So first, I want to go through each of the top 10 quarterbacks according to 24/7 Sports and talk about their chances at playing big snaps right away. So at number 10, we obviously have Ryan Puglisi. He ended up going to Avon Old Farms High School in Connecticut, and it's an interesting place to come from. The last big quarterback to come out of the state was Tyler Van Dyke, who obviously went to Miami, and Puglisi has shown a lot of potential in high school, but unfortunately, he's dealing with an injury and is dealing with a load of depth at Georgia. Currently, the Bulldogs already have Carson Beck, Gunnar Stockton, and Jaden Rashada. Puglisi is 4th on the depth chart, and I don't really see him even competing to play until 2025 at the earliest, and probably 26 or 27. Ultimately, I kind of think he's a guy who's going to transfer, but for now, Puglisi is probably not going to get on the field. Jaden Davis has an okay chance of playing for Michigan this year. Currently, the Wolverines have 5 quarterbacks on the roster, and for the former player who was ranked number 1 in this class as a high school sophomore, Davis has plenty of potential. He ended up going to Providence Day School in Charlotte, North Carolina, and is ranked as the number 9 quarterback in the country. Michigan's probably going to end up starting Alex Orji or Jack Tuttle, and if both of those guys suck, they'll still probably turn to Jaden Denegal or Davis Warren, but honestly, Davis is the guy of the future, so if all heck breaks loose for Michigan at the quarterback position, I would not be surprised to see Jaden Davis play the last 4 games. So I don't think Jaden will see the field much unless there's a complete emergency. At number 8, you have Ethan Grunkemeyer. He comes out of the state of Ohio, and the last quarterback that the Nittany Lions got from the state is Drew Allar. Right now, Allar is projected to be the guy and one of the best quarterbacks in college football, but also many think he's overrated and think he's a lot like Christian Hackenberg. Allar has all the tools, but honestly, he still has not been able to put it all together. If he can't figure things out quick, though, Grunkemeyer is still probably the third option, as they have a backup quarterback in Bo Pribula, who has shown decent potential and has also shown flash when he's gotten on the field. Grunkemeyer has a low chance of playing and being the best freshman in the country. The same thing can be said for Nolan. He put up insane stats at Langston Hughes High School in Georgia, but Ohio State is a different monster to play right away. They went out and got Will Howard from Kansas State to be the starter, and if that falls through, they'll likely lean on the other 3 options. They already have 2 experienced backups in Devin Brown and Lincoln Kienholz, and then they have a more highly regarded freshman in Julian Sayin. Aaron Nolan's probably 5th on the depth chart, and while he's a guy I hope will play a lot in the future, for now, he has pretty much a 0% chance of getting on the field. CJ Carr is an interesting one. Currently, Notre Dame has Riley Leonard from Duke as their quarterback, but he has struggled with injuries. If Leonard gets hurt, then it'll either be down to Stephen Jelly or CJ Carr. Honestly, Carr has a lot more potential than Jelly in my eyes, and at one point, Carr was also a 5-star, so I think there's actually a decent chance that CJ could see the field a little bit. But if Riley Leonard stays healthy, then probably not. So far on the list, we have a lot of guys who I think will be backups, but Walker White has a real chance to play right away in my opinion. Currently, Auburn's quarterback situation is Peyton Thorne and Holden Gariner. Honestly, Gariner barely gets talked about, and Thorne really isn't that good. I don't really see him ever leading an SEC team to a lot of wins or putting up insane stats, and if Auburn gets off to a bad start or the pressure really gets turned on Hugh Freeze, he may turn to his freshman Walker White, who is a borderline 5-star recruit as well. I'm not quite sure if Walker's ready, but I would not be surprised if somehow, some way, he gets on the field a decent amount. At number 4, we have Luke Kromenhoek. Coming out of Benedictine Military School in Georgia, Kromenhoek ended up committing to Florida State, and right now he will be the 3rd-string guy. Brock Glenn was already the backup last year, and they already have DJ. Honestly, no matter what, I don't really see Luke getting on the field, unless it's in garbage time, as they probably want to preserve him for next year, or I actually think he'll probably be the favorite to win the job over Brock Glenn. For now, though, he's probably not going to play. At number 3, we have Julian Sayin, and going back to the Aaron Nolan bit I did, Sayin is definitely going to redshirt this year, as Ohio State's going to turn to Devin Brown or Lincoln Kienholz. Still though, Sayin is probably the guy of the future, and there's a reason why he was a 5-star player. At number 2, we have our best candidate yet to be the best freshman quarterback in college football, and that is Dylan Rayola. After going to multiple high schools and flipping to multiple different programs during his recruitment, Dylan Rayola finally settled on Nebraska, where his dad is on the staff, and right now he's the frontrunner to win the job. While some people think he's overrated, I think Dylan Rayola is going to be solid. I think it'll be like Adrian Martinez back in 2018, where it's kind of a rough start and he gets better throughout the season. I see that happening with Dylan, as he'll probably have to adjust to the college level, but by the end of the year, he could be pretty solid, and if not, show a lot of potential for 2025. Right now, I would say Dylan Rayola is the frontrunner to being the best quarterback in college football as a freshman. Okay, so the number one guy was DJ Lagway. He ended up going to Willis High School in Texas, and he signs on with Billy Napier, who desperately needed a big-time quarterback. Right now, they have Graham Mertz, who I think is in his final year of eligibility, and while Mertz was efficient last year, Florida's kind of in desperation mode. They have the hardest schedule of any Power 5 team this year, and the seat's starting to get warm for Napier. If Florida gets off to a really bad start and Mertz isn't that good, honestly, Napier could play the true freshman card and throw Lagway out there to try to buy himself another year. I'm not quite sure if Lagway is ready or not, but he has all the potential in the world, and there's a reason why he was ranked as the number 3 player in the country. I'm super excited to watch him in the future, and while he is the likely starter in 2025, things could go haywire and he could play in 2024, but for now I'd say he probably has the third best odds of playing right away, behind Rayola and Walker White. Okay, so outside of the top 10, what other freshmen have a chance at playing? Well, at number 11, you have a guy by the name of Elijah Brown. He ended up going to Mater Dei High School, and instead of following the pipeline to USC, Brown decided to commit to Stanford. Stanford's been used to getting big-time quarterbacks over the last few years, but Brown comes at a much-needed time. Coach Taylor sees a ton of potential in him, and while Brown is young, I think there's a chance he could see the field right away. Apparently, he's playing really well in fall camp, and what I think is going to happen is he'll end up being the backup quarterback to start out, and then after a rough start for him, Elijah Brown will play, and I think he'll end up being the starter by the end of the season. Honestly, they should not waste time playing the guy in front of him and just put in Elijah Brown and let him work the kinks out. I mean, Stanford has no expectations this year, so you might as well go at the guy who gives you a chance of elevating the program. The guy ranked right behind him in the class is a guy by the name of Hoshane Haney. He ended up becoming a star at Aledo High School in Texas and decided to commit to TCU. Honestly, I don't know much about him, as he's a guy who kind of flew up recruiting boards. Currently, Josh Hoover is the starting quarterback for TCU, but honestly, if he struggles, I would not be surprised to see Haney get a chance to play right away. Sonny Dykes is desperate to get TCU football back on track, and I think there's a slight chance that Haas gets on the field as a true freshman, but honestly, I do have a lot of faith in Hoover. At number 13, you have Jake Merklinger, as he was a guy coming out of Calvary Day School in Savannah, Georgia. Right now, Nico is the 100% starter for them, but if he goes down, Jake's going to take over. Tennessee's quarterback situation includes a couple of preferred walk-on type players, and Jake right now is the backup, so the only way he really gets on the field is if Nico's either awful or gets hurt. Like Haas, I'd say there's an okay chance he plays. After that, you have Will Hammond, who was a 4-star recruit from the state of Texas, and he'll be going over to Texas Tech. Baron Morton is the incumbent starter for the Red Raiders right now, and honestly, we're getting to that point with the quarterbacks where the only way these guys get on the field is if there's an injury or the guy in front of them plays terrible. I'm not going to even try to make projections like that, so I'd say just like the rest of these guys, Will Hammond only gets on the field in an emergency situation. The same thing can be said for KJ Jackson, as he was a 4-star from the St. James School in Alabama, and he should be the backup or third string at Arkansas. If Taylon Green sucks, then maybe KJ gets on the field. At number 16, you have Trey Owens, and there's pretty much no chance he plays right away, as they already have Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers. Both of those guys would have to go down with injury for him to see the field at all. Honestly, Demarcus Davis has an okay opportunity to play for UCLA. Currently, the Bruins are probably to go with Ethan Garbers, but he hasn't exactly shown that much in his time, and Davis is apparently a tremendous athlete who's been playing really well in fall camp, plus it's Coach Foster's first year, so there really aren't any expectations, so maybe he goes all in on Davis. At number 18, you have Tyler Cherry, and he came from Center Grove High School in Indianapolis, but from what I've heard, he's third string on the depth chart, and he probably won't get a chance to play. He still needs to develop. At number 19, you have DeMond Williams Jr., who transferred from Arizona to Washington to play with Coach Fish. Currently, the Huskies have Will Rogers as their starting quarterback, so there's not really a good reason to believe that DeMond will play at all. But again, people are excited about his future, and if an injury happens or Rogers sucks, then DeMond will see the field. At number 20, we have Marcos Davila, and just like a lot of these guys, he's sort of in the same boat. Currently, Purdue has Hudson Card as the starter, but now in year 2, Ryan Walters needs to start winning games, so if Card sucks, they should play Marcos, who's apparently been playing really well. At number 21, we have Isaac Wilson at Utah, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but it's the same thing. He only plays if Cam Rising's hurt, which honestly in my eyes the odds are pretty high that Rising actually gets hurt again, and sadly I wouldn't be surprised if Rising doesn't play after what happened the last year, but Wilson's probably going to develop. Colin Hurt is the same way at LSU, as they already have Ricky Collins, AJ Swan, and Garrett Nussmeier. CJ Bailey will be going over to NC State, and they have Grayson McCall as a starter, and it's an interesting situation there because McCall had that terrible injury last year at Coastal, so maybe he sees the field, and then the same thing can be said for Drake Lindsay. Drake Lindsay's going to Minnesota, and they already have Max Brosmer from New Hampshire. Jeremy Hicklinski rounds out the top 25 quarterbacks in the country, and he's going to Wake Forest. Honestly, there may be a chance that he plays, as currently they have Hank Bachmeier and Michael Kern, and it's an interesting one because Michael Kern's really not that good, and Hank Bachmeier's kind of fizzled out. Wake Forest has been known to grab quarterbacks out of nowhere, so Hicklinski may get a chance to play. Okay, I'm kind of just going through the list at this point, but looking at the guys ranked number 26 through 35, I don't really see many who have an opportunity to play. Nebraska already has their quarterback, so I doubt that Daniel Kaelin gets on the field. Currently, Rutgers and Schiano are going all in on their quarterback Athlon Kalikiak-Manis from Minnesota, so AJ Saras probably isn't going to play. Cal already has Fernando Mendoza, so EJ Kamenong probably won't play. And Isaiah Marshall's an interesting one because he's going to Kansas. Right now they already have Cole Ballard and their starter Jalen Daniels, so he probably doesn't play. Aiden Glover's going into Mizzou to be the third string. Deuce Adams is probably going to be the fourth or fifth string at Louisville, and Michael Hawkins Jr. is probably going to be third or fourth string at Oklahoma. We're getting to the point in this list where I really don't see that many freshmen who are going to get a chance to play. An interesting one is Josh Flowers, as he came from Baker High School in Mobile, but he ended up falling from being a 4-star to a 3-star and committed to Arkansas State. They have a new coach, and he's still pretty highly regarded, so maybe he'll get a chance to get on the field and start, so he could be pretty solid. You also have Drew DeVillier from Plano East High School in Texas, who's decently highly recruited playing for Rice. You have Darius Curry, the number 42 quarterback in the country, who's going to play for Colorado State. And then you have Caleb Osborne, a quarterback who's going to Toledo, who has to replace DeQuan Finn. At this point, I have no idea who will and won't play, but those are just my best guess. If I have to go back through the list, I'm going to rank my top 5. Obviously, I think Dylan Rayola has the best opportunity to play right away. DJ Lagway could play if Billy Napier's seat is on fire. Walker White could play because Peyton Thorne isn't any good. Elijah Brown should probably play a lot as a true freshman. And then Jaden Davis might get a chance to play right away because of his talent and the fact that he's the future of Michigan. Those are probably my top 5, but I would say that Dylan Rayola is going to be the best freshman quarterback in college football this year. But what do you guys think? Did you enjoy this video? Who is your favorite freshman quarterback? And what other video like this should I do next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos in the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.